Well, good afternoon. Wait, try that again. Good afternoon. All right, thank you. It's a great pleasure to have all of you here this afternoon. Thank you for being here with us. I know that many of you participated in the panel session earlier, and it's great to have you here with us for lunch this afternoon and for the formal program. I also want to welcome all of those who have joined us after the program but are here for the ceremony today. This is a special time. It's a time where we will award the Ivan Allen Jr. Prize for Social Courage. We will award and recognize that prize to Ambassador Andrew Young, who is here with us today. And in so doing, we're going to recognize Ambassador Young's inspired leadership on the local, state, regional, national, and in fact, international levels. Sharing this special occasion with us this afternoon are his wife, Carolyn, his son-in-law, Jerry Thomas, as well as his daughter, Lisa Alston, and her husband, Doug Alston. We also want to recognize Mr. Inman Allen and Mr. and Mrs. Ivan Allen IV, as well as other members of the Allen family and close friends. On behalf of Georgia Tech, we want to tell you how much we appreciate your family and your ongoing encouragement and support. We extend our deep appreciation to Tom and Lou Glenn for their commitment to this award. The prize is supported in perpetuity by the Glenn, Wilbur, and Hilda Glenn Family Foundation. And while Tom and Lou send their regrets that they couldn't be with us here today, we're delighted to have their daughters, Louisa and Rand, here representing the Family Foundation. We're also honored to have with us Susanna Stribling, Executive Director of the Glenn Family Foundation, and her husband, Robert Rubin. And finally, we welcome all the members of Georgia State's House of Representatives and Senate, as well as members of the Board of Regents. The support that we get from these legislative bodies is one of the principal reasons that Georgia can claim to be one of only 3 states in the country that have 2 universities in the top 15 public universities in the country, and that's something we can all be proud of. Georgia Tech established the Ivan Allen Jr. Prize for Social Courage to illuminate the legacy of Atlanta's former mayor and to shine a light on those around the world who so bravely act to improve the human condition, often in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. The inaugural prize was awarded in March of 2011 to former Senator Sam Nunn, who's with us here today. Senator Nunn. Other recipients have been Dr. William Fagey. Dr. Fagey's here. Dr. Fagey. Congressman John Lewis, Beatrice Metetwa, humanitarian activist Nancy Parrish, and former President and First Lady Jimmy and Rosalind Carter. Please join me in welcoming all of our participants today and enjoy lunch. I'll be back in a few minutes. Good afternoon, and again, welcome to this afternoon's lunch. The inaugural Ivan Allen Jr. Prize was awarded in March of 2011 to former Senator Sam Nunn. It was a special honor for us to have Senator Nunn here at that time and to welcome him as the first recipient. But we're especially honored today to have with us Ambassador Andrew Young as this year's recipient. A Georgia Tech graduate, Ivan Allen was the mayor of the city of Atlanta from 1962 to 1970. Through his own personal convictions and courage, He helped break down legal barriers to racial equality and change the culture of the region, the South, and in fact, the entire nation. With vision, goodwill, and leadership, he was one of many who helped to plant the seeds of our society so that we could continue striving towards the promise of fairness and equality. This year's recipient is a leader in that struggle, a leader in the struggle for racial equality and the dignity of all people. 12 years after Ivan Allen left the mayor's office, Andrew Young became Atlanta's mayor, serving 2 terms. By that time, he had already served as the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations and as a U.S. representative from the state of Georgia, as a pastor, and as a well-known leader in the area of human rights. Ambassador Young's lifelong dedication to public service and civil and human rights has helped to change the course of history, for our city, for our country, and in fact for the world. For most of his adult life, he's worked tirelessly for the social, political, and economic advancement of oppressed people all around the world. At age 29, he accepted a leadership role in the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and became executive director just 3 years later. He was a leader in voter registration campaigns, including efforts on behalf of the National Council of Churches. As a confidant and advisor at a young age to Martin Luther King Jr., Andrew Young has earned his place in history as a giant in American civil rights and the American civil rights movement. He was a strategist for important protests that led to change. In the anti-segregation march that he helped organize in Birmingham in 1963, demonstrators were hosed and set upon by dogs by order of the police commissioner. Many of us, having seen the searing images from that ugly part of our country's history, remember it well. But Ambassador Young lived it. Time after time, he put his life on the line. He and Dr. King organized demonstrations in Chicago to end racial discrimination in housing. He marched with Dr. King from Selma to Montgomery to demand full and equal access on the ballot in a state and region where African Americans who attempted to vote were often met with physical violence and economic reprisals. He was a key strategist and negotiator during the Civil Rights Campaign and helped draft the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. He was with Dr. King in Memphis when he died. Ambassador Young has said, quote, "It doesn't take courage when you know something is right. It just takes determination. You see a vision and commit to it, and you risk your life and your future to achieve it." In his 3rd term in the U.S. House, representing Georgia's 5th congressional district, he resigned and became our United Nations ambassador. In that position, he advocated for human rights on a global scale and helped negotiate an end to white majority rule in Namibia and Zimbabwe. During his 2 terms from 1982 to 1990 as Atlanta's mayor, Ambassador Young helped to lay the foundation for the city's present-day international reputation. He helped to attract new businesses and billions in private investment and worked to develop Hartsfield International Airport. He served as chairman of the Atlanta Organizing Committee to bring the 1996 Summer Olympics here to Atlanta. In 1996, he co-founded Good Works International, a consulting firm based on responsible business development in Africa and the Caribbean. Ambassador Young's efforts to build a more just world extend far beyond our borders and a single historical era. His eloquent advocacy for human rights as the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations have helped to cement his visionary legacy around the world and he continues to this day his tireless and compassionate work to improve the lot of the world's most challenged communities. Much of this work is done through his Atlanta-based foundation, the Andrew J. Young Foundation. As the successor to Ivan Allen Jr. as Atlanta's mayor, it's altogether fitting that we honor Ambassador Young today as the 2018 winner of the Ivan Allen Jr. Prize for Social Courage. Before I invite Ambassador Young to the stage, the members of our Georgia Tech Chamber Choir have a special musical performance in his honor. Ladies and gentlemen, Ambassador Andrew Young.
Thank you very much, and I met Ivan Allen after a garbage worker strike. It was right after Dr. King's death. We came back to Atlanta, and the sanitation workers were on strike. Well, we had to join them, and I sat down there in front of the trucks, trying to block the trucks, and policeman came up and I said, "Excuse me, sir, but I just want you to know that these are city workers, and you're city workers, and they are looking for raises for their families. You need a raise too. If you beat us up, you might not get your raise. But if that makes you feel better, help yourself." And he stuck out his hand, and I thought I'd made it. And he shook hands with me and pulled me up and pushed me in the paddy wagon. But that was a very good experience, because it gave me the credentials of an activist in the city of Atlanta. And I'd never, well, I guess I got put in jail in Savannah one time, but I wasn't a jail goer. And I wasn't a rabble-rouser very much, but when Mayor Allen sent the offer, they voted it down. And I sat there and I realized that they were freedom high. They were so happy that they stood up for something that they didn't want it to end. Even though, to me, it sounded like he gave them more than they asked for. And after they voted it down, I said, "Excuse me," but then I went to the board, and they were asking for 3 steps, and he had offered them 2 steps, but he was going to pay them for the time they'd been on strike. And he had a whole lot of little good things in there that they hadn't asked for. And so when I explained that to them, and they changed the vote. And he had been really hoping this would settle, and had gotten word that they'd voted it down, but then a fellow by the name of Joe Jacobs went back and told him that they'd changed the vote. And Joe asked me to come on over and see the mayor. And I sat there in his office, and it was for over an hour. But that was how I got to meet Ivan Allen. And I got a course in what it takes to be mayor of this city. And he told me stories that I told today of how he and Mr. Woodruff desegregated the chamber. And how he and Jack Tarver were good friends. But you can't get a good story out of the papers. I don't care what you do. I go over there and I talk to them, and they don't write it right. And so what he taught me was the relationship between politicians and the press is not racial. He said we were best friends until it came time to write that damn paper. But I'm saying that I saw him, I watched him, and it was something he didn't have to do, but Ivan, his father, had put that burden on him, and I'm glad he didn't put it on you. But his father said to him, Ivan, we've left you a brave and beautiful city. The one thing we haven't been willing to touch is race. We leave that to you and your generation. So he was given a charge from his father to take on really what has been and still is the major moral dilemma of our time. And he never backed up off of it. So this is a particularly significant award for me, because I know, well, he put where I live, Veltra Circle, he put a bridge, a wall to keep me from going. He had walls before Donald Trump. But it didn't take him long to take it down. And we began to work together, and he was the only mayor of any city in the United States to testify in behalf of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And none of the black community that was supporting him wanted him to go, because we thought he was too valuable here. And we didn't want him to risk alienating the white community. But your grandmother, great-grandmother, Louise, said, Ivan, if you don't go, you'll regret it the rest of your life. And so he went to testify. She also gave me a good lesson, because she loved trees. And she said, now, Andy, if you dig $1, if you have a $1 tree, you got to dig a $10 hole. And that was her secret for keeping the trees growing in Atlanta and her founding of Trees Atlanta. And so I learned so much from this family. And I even feel the tragedies that they felt, because nobody gets through being in public life without some heavy burdens. And that's why I am glad my daddy was disappointed that I was not a dentist. My son told me, look, leave the politics and religion to somebody else. Nobody in this family knows anything about business. I got to learn about business. So my son and my daughter-in-law with my 9th grandchild are sitting here. They came in, I didn't know they were coming, because he doesn't like to be around politics. But this is an extreme honor for me for many reasons. Sam Nunn and I went to Japan together the first semester we were in Congress. He was in the Senate. We went to the parliamentary exchange, and that's how we got so many Japanese companies coming here, because George Busby went after us and Jimmy Carter, and I mean, it's all flown together. John Lewis, probably the youngest of the bunch, was responsible for my coming to Atlanta. I was in New York working with the National Council of Churches, quite comfortable, and he came on television in the Nashville sit-in story. And Jean, my first wife for 40 years, native of Marion, Alabama, said, it's time for us to go home. I said, we are home. We just bought this house. She said, no, this is not home. I said, but baby, what do you want to do? I don't know. Quit this house, quit your job, sell this house. And she was pregnant with my 3rd child in the 6th month, with her master's thesis due the 7th month. But she had to get a master's in New York because it was only $32 a semester. to get a master's from Queens College. There's something about low-cost education, because the investment of, and Carolyn is a teacher also, when we invest in our teachers, we're investing in our future, and we're improving the lives of our children and our business and everything else. And so everything seems to have come together for me in this city. And I'm grateful for her. But the last place I wanted to be was with all these Baptist preachers, because I'm a congregational preacher and we don't have a hoop. And don't do a lot of shouting, and I knew I'd be out of place, but I ended up working for the United Church of Christ, and they put me in an office on Auburn Avenue right across the hall from Martin Luther King, and I couldn't escape. And so everything that has happened to me has seemed like it was just right. And for the life of me, I've never planned and no ambition. I spent more time trying to get out of responsibility than get into responsibility. But it has all worked out well. And to be in this distinguished company with Dr. Faggy, who's helped to wipe out smallpox, but more than wiping out smallpox, helping us to realize that we can change the world from this city. And there's almost nothing that we can not do. We're working on almost there on polio. But it won't be long before we're there on cancer. And it won't be there before we're solving most of the technical problems. But what Ivan Allen did, and what we're probably most famous for, is making of a very diverse city a family. And we've acted like a family. You didn't know me, but I'm part of your family. And knew your daddy well, not well enough though. But it just happens that something special is here. When these young people, who, as I looked at them, if you look at their grandparents and their bloodlines, we probably had 60, 70 different nationalities up here. And so the world has come to Atlanta, and it's brought a variety of visions and spirits and needs and talents. And I think the calling for us is still the same as it was for Ivan Allen. And that is, he brought peace between the races. We must bring peace between the nations. And it's not so hard between the nations if everybody's rich. The difficult problem is, how do we bring peace between the classes? How do we help the rich and the poor? For the rich, peace is security. For the poor, peace may be just a crust of bread. And working out that diversity and bringing together the planet on which we live is the legacy that Ivan Allen and Mr. Woodruff and J. Paul Austin, whose grandson is back here now, because he was the one who kind of took over with Ivan Allen to kind of make peace with Maynard Jackson. And having been in South Africa at the time of apartheid, this native of Troup County, Georgia, Grange, came back here and wanted to make sure that what happened in South Africa never happened in Georgia. And so we have an illustrious heritage and mission. And I'm just blessed that I got plopped in the middle of you all. I was sort of prepared for it because, as I said the other day, that I grew up in a neighborhood in New Orleans, but I could have never done this in New Orleans. New Orleans wasn't ready, but it got me ready because I had an Irish grocery store on one corner, an Italian bar on another, the Nazi party on the third corner, Highland Hitler. And before I went to kindergarten, I had to have my race relations down right. And I had a father who was a dentist and a mother who was a teacher that made sure that we didn't have anything but a good heart and a good mind. And that's all you needed. And so the motto that I grew up with was, don't get mad, get smart. That if you lose your temper in a fight, you lose the fight, so don't ever let the blood rush from your head. Stay cool. And I think that I came here at a time when that was appreciated, but I don't think God is through with us yet. And I do think all of this is basically spiritual. You can denominationalize it any way you want to, but ultimately we are spirit. We are spiritual beings in a human environment or in a physical environment. But the spirituality is what we have learned to cultivate, but that we've got to share. We've got to share with the rest of the world, and that's why I was attracted to the Rotary group and others that came here talking with us about making Atlanta a city of peace. And that we have a couple of Nobel Prize winners in this town. And we have this heritage that the world needs. And so having the peace people come from all over the world every other year, every 4 years or however, and having Atlanta as a kind of a capital of peacemaking. Because peacemaking is not just between nations. Peacemaking, well, Bernice King had one hell of a time when she declared 100 days of nonviolence at a middle school with black girls out here in what used to be Bankhead Court. And nonviolence and community and family and love and forgiveness are things that are essential to all of the technical and physical advances that we make. And we've been put in a position where history has placed this upon us. And so I kind of got sick after Martin's 50th anniversary of his death. But I realize I'm still here. And I don't know how much longer, but we used to say we might not make it to 40. Most of us won't make it to 40. But if we do, we'll make it to 100. And he didn't make it to 40, but that means I got to make it to 100. But it's only with your help, and it's only with your guidance, it's only with your support, it's only with the brain power that we're collecting in. I was saying, I don't know another city in the world that has the diversity of academia and research and talent that we have here in every way. And our ancestors, our forefathers, Ivan Allen, gave his life for us to have the good life that we have. But you can't keep it to yourself. We have to share it, and we have to grow it, or it dries up and diminishes. So thank you very much, Dr. Peterson and Joe Bankoff, and all of you who had something to do with this. I have to say one more thing. I went to see Jimmy Carter yesterday because we take him for granted. But there's never been a president, I don't think, of any country in the world that has been able to be a president for 4 years and not a one of his soldiers kill anybody from any other nation, nor any other nation kill someone from his nation. And still do it and leave us with a balanced budget. We can't take that for granted. We've got to realize that that is our heritage, and we can't let it lie fallow. God bless you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Mr. Ambassador, it's my great privilege to give you the 2018 Ivan Allen Jr. Prize in Social Courage.
Thank you. Okay. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a special award given to special people, and it gives us an opportunity to pause and reflect and celebrate some of the most courageous and selfless people in the world. You know, we all grow up and have these images through our childhood that are etched into our memories. Val and I were born in 1952, and one of the memories that's etched in my mind is watching the 6 o'clock news and Walter Cronkite and the black and white images of people being sprayed with fire hoses and chased with German Shepherd dogs. And it's because of people like Ambassador Andrew Young that we don't see that today. Thank you, Ambassador Young, for everything you've done, and congratulations. Thank you for being here with us today, and I invite you to stay around for some pictures if you'd like. Thank you.